this. I wonder what would change. I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
I am all rested up. I am teacher rested from my fall break. Oh, thank you, Lee Marie, for filling in. And I'm just embracing my breaks. And I'm a little older, so I can take some time off. So don't begrudge me that. I love being a teacher, though. It's so much fun. I can't wait to see my kids today. And we have in the house, Althea, and you're gonna have to say your name again. It's so beautiful.
Nova Lee.
Nova Lee. Nova Lee you're new to this visit. This is your first time.
This is my first time.
Tell me the background of that. Now, she was explaining that to me while you were in the restroom a while ago. So what is Nova Lee? What is that from?
It is native. It's Cherokee for chasing butterflies.
How fun is that?
Yeah.
Nova Lee. And it'll take me a while. It took me forever to say Althea correctly. She'll be like, it took her 2 years to get my name down. But we're here because Recovery Court graduation is coming up. It's next Thursday. It's the 24th, and we're so excited because and Megan's going to be in here in a minute. Judge, he's goofing off. He's just not here today. But we're teasing Judge. We love you. But we just want to make sure people understand what this is, because this is one of the coolest things that we have here in Robertson County. We are so good. We're just an awesome county. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things I'm most proud of. I talk to my students about it. I love that y'all have let me be on the board, because it gives me, I can tell my kids, hey, I'm part of the Recovery Court board. It just opens a door to be able to talk to them about the hard things of life, because that is what these kids need. They need to see their options. They need to see there's hope. They just need to see what's available out there. Not maybe for themselves, but maybe their family members, because we got generational addiction that has just absolutely paralyzed families. And what we're doing with the Recovery Court here in Robertson County is just amazing. Like I said, we are living right and blessed in Robertson County. Welcome, y'all. How's that?
That's great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, I'm so excited y'all could work it out. It's always kind of a tenuous moment trying to get you guys in here right before the graduation, because it's busy. Mm-hmm. It's busy. So I'm so glad this worked out. And so we've got plenty of time to kind of let everybody know this is next Thursday. And this is something we want to invite the public to. That's right. And I think people are kind of surprised by that. Do you get that sometimes?
Yeah. So I think we've been doing this for a number of years, and we just started in 2020 it's always been open to the public, but it was in the courthouse.
Right.
In the courtroom.
Tight.
Right. And so in 2020, we started having it. We were invited by Terry Martin to use the rec center, to have our graduation. So moving it out of the courthouse, it was just a different experience. There's more space. We were able to start serving food. And I personally feel that when we're spending time together as a community, there's nothing like breaking bread together. while we're celebrating.
Yep.
So I think that was a big difference. But what I find is that even though we've been doing this for a long time, unless folks have a family member that's been involved in the program, they don't know we're here.
Yeah.
So when people learn about it and come visit the graduations, I think people are always a little bit shocked. It's a really touching celebration. And I think for people that aren't part of families that have vocal members that struggle with addiction or don't have, people that are close to them that struggle with addiction, they're shocked to find out how prevalent it is and really what it's about and how far reaching it is in our communities. So attending an event like that, it's eye-opening. We're not able to sleep on it anymore, so to speak, and be in denial or not be aware that that's happening. And the other side of it is you get to see what recovery is about. So they get to see people who have reunited with their families and have gotten jobs and homes and, learned how to regulate their emotions and essentially get through life on life's terms without using drugs and alcohol to cope.
And it's just I think one of the things that has always struck me is when I'm there is that the people who we see are people who I'm like, well, that could be my uncle, that could be my grandmother, yes, that could be my niece, my kid, me. You see yourself, you see the people that you walk through life with, and you're like, wow, man, there before the grace of God go I.
Yes.
And that's the thing people don't realize. The thing, when you talk to people who have been touched by addiction, very, very rarely is it something that they just was like, I'm going to see if I can, it's something that just happened. And then they don't know how to stop it. And it just overwhelms them. And I love Ron Baptiste. He talks about, he goes, this is something that we need to treat like a medical problem, and we don't. And so often it's like, well, we're going to send you to a week of rehab, or it takes so much more time than what people realize to break the bonds of addiction. And through the recovery court, because so many, man, they mess up and they feel like their life is over. And then they get this opportunity to start over through recovery court. That's what's so beautiful about it. You get a fresh start. You get that real path to redemption, and you can do this, and you can start new. That's what I love about it. So I just love it. So hi, Megan. Hi. Do you want to hand it over to? And then we've got to let our newbie here talk as well.
Okay, so funny story. Are these from you?
Huh?
Is this from you?
Yes. Listen, go ahead. We got our little Jesuses in here.
But I brought my little Jesus for you. I had no idea. I didn't even see this. So I love giving things out. So my husband is a chaplain at Trousdale County, and he brought a box of these home. And I was like, these are the greatest things ever. So I was digging. I was like, oh, I'm going to be late. Let me take a little token to LaVern. Also, everybody can use a little Jesus. So I got in. I was like, wait, what? Did they bring little Jesus?
No.
I've given them a little bit.
We do it all the time. I was just at Bethany Tees, Dr. Bethany Tees up at Star Physical Therapy, my therapist. I walked in there one day and I was getting ready to do a lesson and Celebrate Recovery. I teach it. We work with Celebrate Recovery, right? Yeah. So the lesson, the next night I had to teach, and I said, we always talk about how that, we're a recovery program that names our higher power. If other recovery programs are not working for you, try little Jesus.
Yes.
And so we started doing that. She handed me one. Her preacher had been handing them out. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I need those for CR.
Yeah.
And so I bought a big, huge box of them. And yes, Nancy has them at Crossroads. She has them at Crossroads. I buy them 300 at a time.
I know. I have a big old huge
I have
box.
a case of them. And I hand them out all over the place. And I just have the most fun with them. I just have had a blast.
I have
these
to.
things. And it's for those who want to share the gospel, it's an icebreaker.
Yeah, it is.
It opens the door.
It really does.
It really does.
I will leave them like in the grocery store, or like my husband. I went to Chicago and I left one at the baseball game. I just left one in my seat. Like I'll just leave them everywhere, but they're the best. So
I handed them out up north when we were up there for a wedding up in the upper peninsula. We were up in Wisconsin, I think, and I had some, and they kind of looked at me like, "Where are you from?" Bible Belt people, But then I handed them to this it was a little bakery in Wisconsin, and she was like, "Can I have 3? I have 3 cars." I'm like, "Yes, you can."
I love
it. Was great.
I love it.
Okay, we digress, but yes, we're gonna get a little Jesus on you in here, y'all. Get you some little Jesuses and hand them out. I love them, and you can get the different colored sashes. And I liked red because of the blood. Yeah. So I like.
Did you not? Mine was a multi-pack. It has like all
you can
the
get
different.
both.
I didn't see
You can
the
get both.
single,
You can get both.
Also, mine are. My husband was like, Megan, you bought. They're jacked Jesus, we call him, because he's big. He's like a big fit guy, and I was like, well, maybe Jesus is lifting weights. I don't know. So anyway, some of mine are bigger.
He is, because he's carrying the weight of the world.
That's right. That's right.
Get it. What's so funny is my engineering son. I've got one that's an electrical engineer. He picked it up. He goes, "My goodness, what they did with this!" And he analyzed how they put it together and formed it. And he was like, "That's quite a feat." He goes, "Look at the little details." He goes, "My goodness." And he's analyzing how they made them, and I'm like, just stop. But anyway, so fun. We go get back on track.
Yes.
Welcome. And we have got Recovery Court graduation. We do this twice a year. We have a fall and a spring graduation. How many graduates do we have this year?
Yeah, we aren't quite settled on it. We still got hair follicles out and all that good stuff, and so we should know this week exactly how many we're working with.
They have to go through extensive testing. Mm-hmm. You're talking about hair follicle tests. This is no joke, guys. This is no joke.
Yeah.
And it is intense, and it is you have. I remember one time you had somebody that was just about ready to graduate, and you saw them out driving without a license or something.
Yeah.
You're like, you can't do that.
Yeah. I think it's really important, to people who come into recovery court, that those are high risk, high need individuals. Yeah. That's really that's a big qualifier for our program. So I think it's really important that people understand there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of accountability. There's also a lot of monitoring. So, a lot of the testing we do at the end is to kind of see, have we missed anything? Has something fallen through the cracks? Because we want to come through and still be that support for people if we miss something, or if something, something wasn't caught, we want to be able to be there and be a support that, kind of guides them back on track. So that's a big reason for, the reason for the hair follicle and things like that. So.
That's just it. And you've got to have that accountability. I knew somebody that went through a variation of it in a military recovery, and it was phenomenal. It's exactly what they needed. They needed that accountability. And it just changed their it really changed things for them, put them on a different trajectory. Yeah. And it can do that. So we don't know yet the number that will graduate next week, but it will be on Thursday at the center, and give everybody particulars and put the big invite in. Who wants to do that? You want to do that? Sure. Thea's taking the microphone.
I started mouthing it before the microphone was in front of me. So.
Gotta have that in front of you.
Yes. So we are having our fall graduation a week from this Thursday, October 24th. Mm-hmm. It'll be starting at 11:30 with charcuterie board. Yes. Tell all your friends we're doing things a little different this time. And then a candy bar. That sounds really strange when you say a candy bar, because there's a candy bar, but this is going to be like an ice cream bar, but with candy.
There you go.
So a candy bar. Uh-huh. And at noon, we'll be starting ceremonies. So we'll start with the remembrance ceremony. And I have not finalized. Some of you that are listening may have been to a graduation before. Some of you may not have been. We do a remembrance ceremony at every graduation, which is really beautiful.
It's incredible.
It is an opportunity for people in the community to send in photos of people in their lives, people that they care about that have lost their lives due to addiction. And that can be a lot of different things, right? I think people typically think of overdose. We're in the midst still of the opioid crisis, and we hear about overdoses all the time, and fentanyl, and so people typically think of that, but that's not the only way addiction kills people. There are drunk driving accidents. There are people that die from liver failure. There are people that die from infections that they get from the way they use drugs. There's all kinds of medical problems. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. And so it's an opportunity for us to memorialize those people and remember them and take a moment. We get busy in our lives, and like I said, we kind of go to sleep to hard things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get busy in our day-to-day lives, and we are not thinking about, we don't always leave space to just stop and reflect and feel. And so the remembrance ceremony is an opportunity for us as a community to be together and stop and look at the faces of these people that have been lost and really appreciate the gravity and the tragedy of what addiction is doing to our communities, to remember the love that we have for those people, to see the faces that look like us, or our aunt or our uncle or our grandparents or our children, and remember that, you know, we're not so far removed as we'd like to believe. So it's just a time for us to stop for a moment, be together and grieve together. And then we go on to celebrating our graduates. So it usually takes about 2 hours or so. So it's it's a decent little afternoon, but it's well worth the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the spiel on
So
graduation.
come and you'll have I can't say that word.
Charcuterie.
Charcuterie, and all the and ice cream candy bar. And
Candy bar.
there you go. I love it. We had a wedding up north, and my sister-in-law, she's like, we're having a candy bar. And my husband's like, so we're getting candy bars for dessert? And he's like, oh, a bar that's full of candy.
That's right.
So he was like, I get it now. So go ahead.
Well, I also want to hit out when we say charcuterie. So that is Miss Sharon West with Southern Guys and Gals Catering. But it's going to be like a plethora, like a whole spread. Judge kind of looked at me kind of crazy the other day because he was like, we're not having a meal. And I was like, we are having food. It's going to be lots of cheeses and lots of meats. And she always does a great job, and fruits and all the sides. So it's going to be
It will be
good.
wonderful.
Yes.
And again, the whole charcuterie craze is because we have a generation raised on Lunchables.
Yes.
And I love that tie-in. And it's like, seriously.
Also, charcuterie is just great. So for whatever reason,
Why would
it's
you
just
not?
great.
Again, Lunchables. I'm nearly 62 years old, and it's like I'm going, what is going on with the charcuterie? And then somebody made that point, and I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense, and it just cracks me up. But I mean, truly, yeah. It's the Lunchable generations, man. They're running things now. I love it. So we're talking all about recovery court and all the things going on, and something that let's kind of recap. You know, we haven't talked about Recovery Fest because that's something that I've talked so much to my students about, and you know, there's so many things. I want to kind of revamp too about how we did the remembrance ceremony at our school, and we're going to do it again. I really think we're going to push it. I haven't talked to anybody about details, but I really think I want to do it in the spring before we hit with proms and graduation and all the things. Yeah. I want to do like maybe in the winter, you know, as we're kind of coming out of the winter and just saying that's really where I want to put it. But what's really been surprising is we did the little documentary on just the things we found out just doing our little documentary at school about addiction. And a principal of ours that's twin brother has been, it's just a breathtaking story. We need to reshare that because that was powerful. But so many of the kids, we show them that at school and they go, I want to do they want to do the remembrance because they've got people that they need to feature. Just like I've got several people that I need to give you pictures of. I think it's too late now, but okay, well,
I'd say
microphone, babe.
Sorry, I always forget to talk to the microphone. I would say by the end of this week.
Okay.
If you or anybody else out there has remembrance photos, next week will be crazy. So I don't want to. I want to have it in by then and be able to work on it over the weekend.
I've got a couple.
Okay.
I've got a couple that I'll send you, and I've meant to send them forever, and I just haven't done it. And
let me give my email address, and I will post it in the comments also. So if you have a picture, again, the only qualifier is that you have someone that you love. They don't have to live here. They can live somewhere else. I have people in the video, myself, many people. So if you have someone that has died due to some kind of complication from addiction, you can send the best photo you can find. It is going to be up on a projector. So the best photo, the most clear photo that you can find to asickle@rccourts.com. That's A-S as in Sam, I-C-K-E-L @rccourts.com.
Okay. And I think people forget suicide. That's huge in addiction, because some people just get to the point where they just can't do it anymore, and that is a huge reason we lose people in addiction, is they just finally give up. And that's something I think people forget sometimes, that those are addiction deaths. Absolutely. What were you going to say, Megan? You look like you had something on your mind. Go for it.
Well, no, I think we were just going to talk about Recovery Fest.
Recovery
I
Fest.
didn't want to interrupt. So yeah.
No, because that's talking, because, showing this documentary at school opens up the door for the kids to have conversations about these things. And so they're like, we need to do this again. Yeah. So I think it'll be, and I know I haven't talked, Dr. Weeks will be in here tomorrow, and I'll talk to him about it, because Dr. Causey was all about, let's do it in every school. And I really believe, I can almost guarantee you, once he sees what we're doing, he'll be like, oh yeah. And I just haven't had a conversation with me, so I don't want to, say for sure, but it is such a powerful, it just reminds them, except for the grace of God, go I, man. It could be any of these kids. When I have a kid that gets injured, and they've torn some AC, or they've had some kind of surgery, I ask them point blank, are you taking pain pills? Are you still taking pain pills? What did they give you? I ask them those questions, because that, unfortunately, is where sometimes it starts, and you just never know. Yeah. I can't take that stuff. I'm thankful I can't take that stuff. But it is so addictive. And go ahead.
If we have any positive that we can take away from the opioid crisis, I think it's that teachers and adults are at least aware and are starting to ask questions. I think 20, 30 years ago, kids got, I can remember getting injured, in a basketball game, playing basketball as a sport in high school. And, the doctor would prescribe Loratab. And thankfully, I don't have a predisposition to addiction. So that wasn't an issue for me. But, I was taking my prescription, and nobody was monitoring that. I was home all day and, just laid up with a knee injury. I think there's people are being questioned. It's being monitored a lot closer now. So hopefully we're going to see something different in that generation. That's kind of, the injuries like that are happening, and teachers like you are involved and are asking questions and holding people accountable. That's huge. That's really a big part of keeping people on the straight and narrow.
And that's what we've got to do is anybody, if you have kids in your life, if you have young people in your life, you got to have these conversations. And that ties into Recovery Fest too, because we had our first Recovery Fest, and the whole point of that is to expose people to, here's what's available. It's also a really good opportunity just to put Judge Perry in a dunking booth.
Yes.
Let them just, because it was awesome. But do you want to kind of do a little recap on the Recovery Fest for us?
Sure, okay. Yeah. Well, and I want to also say, let's start here. Yeah, recap. I think we're pretty sure we've nailed down. We probably had between 350 and 400 attendees, which we felt was awesome for our first. Yes, absolutely. We had great music. We had Open Door, who helped serve hot dogs to the community. The big thing for me when I looked around out there was just the collaboration between so many groups and organizations in town, and just partnerships that we're all involved in this one thing with really the same goal. So that was the huge piece. But we had close to 35 vendors. That was huge. And all of our feedback so far has just been that everybody had a good time. They thought it was great location, great turnout, great information, great music. So we were just, we're excited. We've already got the next one set. Yay. So August 16th, 2025 is our next Recovery Fest. That'll be our second annual. We are starting the planning for next year's Recovery Fest. So if anybody's interested, you can message the Facebook page, you can reach out. But we're starting to plan for next year's and making it bigger and better. So
I love it. I love it. It's going to be, we're just so excited that, so go ahead.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We have formed committees to kind of help make this next one better. So that's what, if anybody's interested in helping, if you were part of last year, if you didn't get to be part of it and you want to be part of this one, we would just love people to get involved and help us, help. That's how we're going to make it bigger and better and reach more people. So
I love it.
Help us by getting involved.
I love it. I tell you, let's take a pause and we'll take a break. And then when we come back, we need to have our new guest in studio talk for a minute, Chasing Butterflies. I can remember that better than how to say your name. I love that. But anyway, we'll let it, because you've got some notes there in front of you. It looks like you have some things to share. So She's not just here for a fixture, because we'll get to talking and you have to just jump in. You have to just interrupt us, because we're friends and we just like to chit chat. But let's do pause for a second and let's talk about my sponsors. I love my sponsors, guys. Man, thank y'all so much for sponsoring this program and what we have going on here. We appreciate y'all so much and everything that's happening, that you believe in what's happening here at Ebenezer Broadcasting. So thank you. And one of our longest sponsors, one of our original sponsors, full-time sponsor, is, of course, Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. If you need help in real estate, guys, cannot say enough about these two. They are just so helpful in so many ways. They're involved in the community. It's so funny, over fall break, they've got new drones at the criminal justice program in Springfield. And so Barry comes out middle of fall break and helps my husband play around with these drones and figure out how to, because there's a lot to it, and he's an expert at it because he was a media marketing vice president of a company for 17 plus years, or over 17 years up in Nashville, and so he's an expert at all of those things. And so can you imagine bringing that to your property that you're trying to sell and having somebody that's an expert with drones and can get that drone footage and do the videography that goes through the house, does walkthrough tours. He came in and showed my class how to do a walkthrough tour and how you tie audio video into everything. And there's so many jobs that are connected to what I'm teaching at Greenbrier, and he's come in and shown the kids that. He's an expert at photography. He's going to make sure that as people are flipping through those listings, they're going to pause on yours because they're going to have everything. Rebecca's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. So if you're one of those people that's like, maybe it's time to downsize, she's an expert at that, and she can make sure it's done exactly like it should be done. They are part of the Exit They're part of the Exit Tree. They brought a new branch in the tree, Exit Prime Realty. They've been part of the Garden Gate team for many years, but they combined his brokerage office here in Springfield with her agency office in White House to bring you a new branch. Same great tree, the Exit Tree, Exit Prime Realty. You can connect with them at sellwithbecky.com, buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com, or you can just give Becky a call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. When you contact them, always let them know. All right, guys, let's go. I love that. You have to say your name for me again. I got to write it down so I can get it down.
It is Nova Lee.
Nova Lee.
Althea.
Supernova.
So for the first couple of weeks Nova Lee was with us, I would have to hear Supernova in my head, and that would remind me. So I wouldn't always say that out loud, but that was my reminder in my mind, and then I would go, oh yeah, Nova Lee.
Okay, Nova Lee, thank you. I love those little chips. Well, because I go through this every semester with my kiddos, trying to get all these names down, and it's like, no, Miss Vivio, you don't say it that way, and I'm like, okay, help me, And so anyway, Nova Lee, but it is a beautiful name. That is an absolutely gorgeous name, Chasing Butterflies.
Chasing Butterflies. Thank you.
I love that. So,
yeah, it was actually named after my grandmother. So
that's cool.
That's cool. It was handed down, and I've really embraced it the older I got, because it's my middle name. Yeah. So
I love that. Nova Lee.
Lee.
Nova Lee is here. And how long have you been with Recovery Court, and what is your position? Why are you here?
Why am I here?
There you go.
Because this is my calling, actually. So, but I joined these beautiful ladies in June of this year as the program manager for the IOP that we launched in February.
And that's the intense outpatient therapy.
Yeah, it's over at the Recovery Center. And so it's a 16-week program, so for 4 months, and it's pretty intense, and so we meet 3 nights a week from 6 till 9 for 3 hours, and we work on, the disease model of addiction.
Yeah. Well, it's like what Ron Baptiste talks about, how that it is a disease. It is a medical problem, and it's not just, you can't just say, just quit doing it. That's not how it works. That little cartoon y'all played last year, there's a little cartoon that they play that just really illustrates it so beautifully. That's just powerful, how addiction just gets a hold of you.
Well, I just wanted to say, and then I'll let Nova get back to it. I think it's really important that you hit on that, and it's not just Pastor Ron that's saying that. Like the medical community has identified that addiction is a disease. Yes. So the same way, and I know that's really hard. I think you were talking about this when I came in, but I know that's really hard for people to equate something that people go and put into their body as, the same as a heart attack or the same as, cancer. That gets really hard for people, but that is one what doctors and professionals who have studied can see that addiction does to the brain. So when we can put that in that same line, we can really start to kind of knock down the stigma and the barriers, and we can start to just help people. And that's really huge, and we can all kind of see it that way. It's important. So
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And so and when we talk about the IOP, there's the little house. If you're heading up Highway 41, we've got a little house there on the right. And did we have signage out in the front?
our sign got knocked down, so our sign got knocked. We had a beautiful sign. It was so beautiful. Althea and her significant other Logan helped make it, and it was beautiful. And then the storms in May knocked it down, so we are going to work on getting it remade by someone that'll be more weather resistant, hopefully.
I gotcha.
So, yeah.
I gotcha. So, but it's one of those things. If you need this help, who do y'all serve? I think that's the proper question here. You hear IOP, so who are you bringing into that program? Who do you serve within the intense outpatient?
Yeah, these are individuals, struggling with addiction that's more intense. So maybe it's somebody that's coming out of inpatient that needs IOP, or it's individuals coming through the court system that, Megan will refer over. And so people within our community, it's open to whoever needs those type services. It's 2403 Memorial Boulevard is where the center is.
Do they have to get a referral from you guys to have access, or can they just walk in? I mean, how does that work? How do you decide who's going to be a part of what's going on there?
Yeah, so we have a pretty standard process. So they'll start with calling the office. We'll screen and make sure they're appropriate, and then I'll set them up. We'll get an assessment going. The phone number is 615-382-6265, and that's extension 1. If you don't get anybody, you can leave it.
Number one more time.
615-382-6265, extension 1. They can leave a message, tell us what they're calling for. They can also text that number and just leave a message saying that's what they're calling about. But it can be anybody. So as long as they meet the qualifications for that level of care, and what we mean by that level of care is kind of what Novalee was saying. Somebody who, for example, if I've got somebody who's drinking every single day, IOP is not going to be the appropriate level of care for them, because they're going to need some help stopping that for it to be safe. Yeah. So we screen for that to make sure this is a safe level of care for them to start. But I've got referrals coming in from DCS, from probation, from the courts. We have a couple that we send from recovery court, but again, kind of going back to what we were talking about, we serve higher risk, higher need. So our clients are probably going to be going from jail to inpatient most of the time. And then some of them are coming back and starting an IOP, but they may also need to go live in transitional housing for a little while. So it's just it's across the board how it kind of varies. But that's a community. That's for anybody in the community that's going, I think I'd like some treatment. Then give us a call.
You go.
Yeah.
Well, one that stands out in my mind is the referral that we got from a doctor for an individual who needed to be put on a liver transplant and list. And so in order to do that, the doctor ordered that he have intensive outpatient services. And so that was incredible to see and watch him just turn his life around.
That's amazing. And the thing is, too, it being here, I work up in, at the Madison Church of Christ in a lot of the programs that we have there, and there's a ton of things right there in Madison. So a lot of your people were having to go at least to Madison to get these programs.
Yes.
And we so desperately needed it here because a lot of them don't have transportation. Yeah. And they get caught in this just, can't win for losing, because it's like, okay, I need this, but I can't get there. I don't have anybody. Because maybe they've burned some bridges in their family, and people are like, they don't want to do, they don't have the money to Uber or all these things. They needed it closer to home, and
Absolutely.
That's why it's so important to have this here in Robertson County.
Yeah, because we really didn't have anything, and I'm a resident of Robertson County all my life. Graduated from Greenbrier.
Oh my goodness!
So when this program came to life, I reached out to Megan and was like, I want to be a part of this because Robertson County needed this. In fact, back in 2000, Paul McKissick and I started the Robertson County Support Group that we ran out of Pastor Ron Baptiste's church there for a while, and now it's still there, but it's no longer called the Robertson County Recovery Group. But there was nothing here, and so we needed to bring something to Robertson County. So when the IOP launched, I was like, Megan, can I just be a part of that? Can I just... Yeah, so
I love it. And that's just, when we talk about we know there's so much at South Haven, there's Celebrate Recovery, and there's all those things, but that's just a piece of it. This is the piece that was missing. And so, when we say, that there's not this, and Ron Baptiste has been involved, it is such a critical piece because it's that next step. I mean, right?
And I want to hit on what you're talking about. We have some support groups. We need more. So if you're interested in starting a support group, by all means. But this was treatment. This is treatment that we started, and that is a huge piece. That is, I mean, that's an essential piece that was missing. And I want to shout out Mayor Vogel because he was so huge. And Althea and I have communicated with him over the last couple of years. And so when the opioid abatement funds were made available to the different counties, we've advocated and kind of explained what's missing here. And so that's kind of what has been the launching point for us to be able to get IOP off the ground. So he was very instrumental in helping us kick that off and get that off the ground. And so thankful to him for seeing the need here in the county as well. But I mean, I think exactly what you're describing there. There was just nothing for treatment wise for people to go. And meetings are wonderful. Go to meetings. I mean, I think that's a big piece that we describe in IOP. Like, you're going to need continued support, but we always describe it with our clients. We have to lay that foundation first. So we have to lay the foundation through treatment. And sometimes that's IOP, sometimes it's inpatient. But then alongside that, IOP is going to come to an end. Make some friends and get involved in support groups that can continue what you've already kind of laid the groundwork doing. So all of it's just a huge piece. I wanted to shout out too, we've got he's a part of our team with Recovery Court, but his name is Scott, and he has Recovery on Wildview, and he has just opened a male transitional house. Oh, wow. So, that's the piece here in Springfield. Yes. Awesome. Yes. He has houses in Nashville that we've referred to over the years, but that's a huge piece that's, as IOP is launching and getting off the ground, more support groups coming along, housing coming along. That's how we're going to make the community even healthier. Like, that's how we're going to help people get healthier.
So Althea is asking, why would a person need a halfway house?
Let Althea talk.
So we'll let Althea talk.
That's not what I was looking for.
But there's, and again, these are all pieces of the puzzle. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to comment because, again, some of the people listening know more than others as far as, what's needed, what a person in recovery needs. But so what we find is that a person in the same environment, even if they're going out and getting treatment a few hours a day or a few hours a week, and then they go back into that home environment. And for some people, it's a family environment where maybe, it doesn't have to be abusive or neglectful. It just might be emotionally triggering for them. Mm-hmm. And they just might need to be taken out of that environment for a little while to have a more neutral ground where there's some accountability. So in a transitional living house, there's drug tests. There's curfews, you have to get a job, there's chores and there's structure. So I have a piece of literature for people in recovery. And in the back of the book, it has all of these terms and how often they're repeated in the book. And the two most commonly repeated words throughout the whole book are structure and gratitude. And what that tells me is that a person in recovery needs those two things. So if you take a person and they have a lot of free time and they don't have a lot of structure, they are going to struggle to stay clean and sober. They're going to struggle not to continue in those habits. If you give someone some structure, especially where there's accountability, they're around other people that are doing the same thing. I had a mentor once that would say, if you want to know who a person is, take a look at their 3 best friends. So who you spend your time with, you're going to be doing a lot of the things that they do. Mm-hmm. Or eventually you're going to stop spending time with them, one or the other, Mm-hmm. So if you're spending a lot of time with people, you're going to be doing what they're doing. So if you're trying to be a person in recovery and you're not used to doing that, you're not used to being around that, if you surround yourself with people day in and day out that are in recovery, it's going to make that a lot easier. It's going to sink in and absorb a lot easier. So not everyone needs transitional housing, but you find out when you try other things and they don't work. Sometimes people go, I don't know why I can't do this. I set my mind to it. I couldn't do it. Well, you might just need some different support. So try to do something different. And I just want to reiterate that people that struggle to stop using and really succeed in recovery, and maybe that's a misnomer because success in recovery can look a lot of different ways. It's not necessarily a linear path. there's not anything wrong with you. Your brain chemistry is hijacked. Speaking from experience here. So addiction is categorized by obsession and compulsion. Your brain, when you are addicted to a substance, your brain is operating under the belief that you need that thing to survive and you will do anything to get it. It's the same as a person starving to death would do. If you were starving to death, you would do anything to get food. The laws wouldn't matter. Who you were hurting wouldn't matter because your brain, it prioritizes everything around survival. So when you are addicted to a substance, your brain reads that. It literally makes changes to your midbrain. So that's the oldest evolutionary part of your brain. It's the part of your brain that keeps you alive in every way. The part of your brain that tells you to eat food, drink water, reproduce, sleep, all of that stuff. So I say that to say that it takes a little trial and error sometimes for people to figure out what's going to work and what isn't, but don't give up. So transitional housing is such a huge piece because you go to IOP for 9 hours a week. It's a 4-month program. Ours is, some of them are different. You might go to support groups. You can go to a support group every single day. You might have to drive to Nashville. I don't think we have them here every day. But say you go every day, maybe you go twice a day. Maybe that's 2 hours a day that you're spending around people in recovery. That leaves 22 hours a day that you're not around people in recovery. Yep. So that's a tidal wave of not recovery against a little drop in the ocean of recovery. So you might just need to balance out the scale a little bit as far as what you're exposed to. We are so excited that this is available here because it has been treatment was one of the missing links. Housing was one of the missing links. So we're starting to have more options with those. And I definitely want to make sure everyone knows what that is and where to send people. And we can post a comment with Scott's contact information.
She's out there. She's working feverishly on that phone, and she is posting stuff as we speak. And there's just so many opportunities, and that's something I can recall conversations I've had with people in Celebrate Recovery that's been something. There's this one sweet girl that's just coming to mind right now. That was the problem, is she would be back home, and then everybody there was addicted, and then what in the world was she supposed to do?
That's right,
because this generational addiction, and Judge will tell you that he sees grandparents and then the parents and then the kids, and they've all used together, and if you're putting somebody back into that situation, how in the world can they possibly overcome? And so we hear that a lot at Celebrate Recovery, a lot. People need that housing so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think the last couple of folks that I can think of that have they've been put out of the program, out of recovery court. There have been family issues, whether it's mom or their significant other. And those are just, Althea and I say it all the time, taking drugs and alcohol away from people, that's kind of one of the first things. And that's usually, not to say it's easy, but that's kind of the closest, the relationships, you got to dig in there, and those roots get deep. And so, I think if anything, when people can think about, how they can relate to someone who is in addiction and is struggling, you may not be someone who struggles with alcohol or substances, but if you think about trying to separate yourself if the relationship were unhealthy with your mom or with your significant other, that would be really, really hard. And that's what we have to teach people to learn how to do, because that's the only way they're going to stay sober.
And it's just skills that they've never been taught, especially if they're in generational. They've never been taught healthy boundaries and things like that. And it's something that you have to just start from the very, very start, the very ground one to get going. You look like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, or they're just used to it. That's all they know.
That's their normal.
So, we'll have people that'll come in abusive, and I'm talking physically abusive relationships, and they'll say, but I love him, he's a good guy, or vice versa. We have that with women too. Well, she's trying to stay clean, and I love him, and I'm not going to leave, and they're not registering the fact that it's not healthy for them. They think that what they're supposed to do is remain loyal and stick it out. And so it's a really tough thing, because we have to start helping people realize, how is this choice that you're making and this belief that you're living by, because we all have beliefs. I won't get way far down the rabbit hole with that, but we have to look at a lot of beliefs when people come into recovery. And that's not just about drugs and alcohol. It's about a lot of different areas of our lives, self-esteem, who we are, what the world is all about, all of that. But they have to start looking at how do I take radical self-responsibility for the situation I'm in by really being able to see what I have control over and what I don't. And that can be a really tough thing to admit that, oh, this isn't good for me. I don't have any control over that person. I have control over what I'm doing, and I'm choosing to continue to stay in this. And honestly, maybe half of our clients get to that point where they're able to notice stuff like that while they're in the program. This is like recovery 4.0.
I love it.
So like Megan said, that we start with, because people can usually identify by the time they've got legal charges, in the system, that, and usually 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe more, criminal charges having to do with substances, that, okay, the substances are probably an issue. And now how do I stop doing that? But then digging into the layers of other areas of their lives that are causing what we would call unmanageability, it takes a little more time to do that. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
There you go.
So it's a lifelong process. You get what you put into it, and
only works if you work it, and believe
that's
you
right.
me, you're worth it.
That's right.
Our one of our little catchphrases, and also as you're sitting there talking about the things, recognizing the things that they can change and what they can't. The Serenity Prayer: God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
That's right.
That's the thing. The things that you can change and the things that you can't. And again, those are just two things, and you see those in not just Celebrate Recovery, in recovery programs across the board.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's the thing. That's the banner. It's like, just know the difference. I can change this. I can't change that. Change what you can and what's your responsibility. And then just be connected in community so you have that support. We need to pause and take a break. So I just, on the note of Celebrate Recovery, we'll have Celebrate Recovery tomorrow night at Epiphany Baptist. They have a meal at 5:30, and then the regular program at 6:30. Wednesday night at Madison Church of Christ, we're having our 3-year anniversary. Woohoo! Love to have you come out and be a part of that. The same thing, we eat about 5:30, 5:45, and then we have our large program at 6:30, and we'd love to have you be a part of that. So come and join us for all of those things. Recovery Court graduation is next Thursday, the 24th, starting at 11:30 with the charcuterie. Did I say it right? So close, so close. Charcuterie board and I can't say it.
It's adorable when you say it like that.
I cannot. Charcuterie. You got it. Charcuterie. Okay. You're so funny. But anyway, so that's what we're going to have on the Recovery Court, and we want you to come to the Recovery Court graduation next Thursday. But we do need to talk about our sponsor. Going to talk about Veterans Motorplex at the Rim. If you've not been to the races, guys, time's running out. You're going to have to get to the races in the next couple of weeks. They'll be racing next 2 weekends, but now they might extend on into November. I got to talk to Jerry about that to see, because sometimes they try. They didn't get to race quite as much as they would like to this year because they did a ton of renovation at the first of the season. Typically, season is between March and October. And again, great racing happening out there. They had a big chamber night this past weekend. They'll, of course, do the trunk or treat that they do from race cars. That's always a lot of fun. We'll get you some more details on that. But guys, it is a blast. If you've not been to the Speedway lately, one of the best kept secrets in Robertson County, it's historical. I mean, it's the old Highland Rim Speedway. It's Veterans Motorplex at the Rim. And so many of the greats have raced on this track. And it is a beautiful quarter-mile, high-bank, asphalt, bull ring, fun for the whole family. A $40 ticket will get your whole family in. You can get up to 6 kids and 2 adults for $40, guys. You cannot beat that deal. They're at 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. You can call Jerry at 615-430-3135, 615-430-3135. Get out before the season's over. Getting close, guys, and perfect weather to get out to the races. Don't miss it. Follow them at Highland Rim Speedway so you always know what's going on at the races. And be sure when you see them, tell them.
I know Megan has something to say.
Okay.
And before unfortunately, I just wanted to speak to what Althea was saying, when it comes to their decision making and things like that. We offer that continuum of care now at the IOP Center, where we offer CBT and MRT and codependency and anger management. So that's something else to speak to.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up MRT. I'm really excited. So Novaly's done the training. I'm gonna go through it right after graduation, just so we've got a second backup. But MRT is moral recognition therapy, and it's another just kind of a step down programming that clients can keep going through, and really helps folks who are involved in the criminal justice system look at that criminal thinking piece and kind of break down where there's a relational aspect as far as relationships that have contributed, and just the thinking surrounding getting involved in just that criminal lifestyle. So we're excited to have another group that we're going to be offering on top of IOP. So it's exciting stuff. All right. So
where were you going?
So listen, this is not, you're going with us. All right. So I don't know if you noticed, but we partnered with Pierre with Robertson County Sports Alliance last
Pierre.
week. I know we love Pierre too. But we partnered, he is from Augusta, Georgia. And so we partnered to send donations for the hurricane relief, for Hurricane Helene back. And so we sent a whole trailer load last week. We were so excited. But in the shopping for, we got some stuff on behalf from Recovery Court, and in the shopping, we were in Dollar General, and I said, let's go over here and let's pick up these things. I'm not. So we would like to know, we polled our whole group. That evening we had our first, we polled Dollar General. We also had our first planning meeting for next year's Recovery Fest, so we opened with a poll to find out how people pronounce these things. So how do you pronounce these?
Okay, just the Vienna sausage. Vienna sausage.
So both ways.
So you say it both ways.
Vienna sausage. Vienna.
Okay.
I say Vieni.
My mother said Vienna sausage.
Okay.
Give me some Vienna sausage.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're from the South, you might say Vienna or Vienna or Vieni. But if you're from the North, apparently you just say Vienna. And I have been in the South for 8.5 years, and I had never heard that word
That's
before.
hysterical.
So when she said, let's get some Vienna sausages, I was like, Vienna?
She goes, Vienna, and I was like, no. And so we had the greatest time in Dollar General last Thursday, and then when our group polling people. So if you want to hit in the comments and tell us how do you say
Vienna. I gotta say, I guess because I'm a communication person, I've heard it all different ways, and so there's a lot of words that I will adapt. Just like if I'm not in Nashville, I say Lafayette. Around here, I say Lafayette.
Yeah.
See, I grew up in Lafayette County, so in Oxford. So that one's hard for me, but I hear people say it.
That's another one.
We had a whole afternoon of how do Southerners say different words versus. So it was
funny.
interesting.
It is funny. I'm from Boaz. How do you say that?
Boaz.
It's Bose. It's
Really?
just outside of Mayfield, West Kentucky. Boaz. If you're from there, it's Bose. But everybody else says Boaz. So
I think the Bible too, maybe.
yeah. I know. I'm sure we say it wrong.
Why are people always spelling words the same way and then pronouncing them different depending on where you are?
If you want to
I know
have,
there's cultural stuff, but
there's an
it
old
just gets really
comedian.
confusing.
There's an old comedian named Gallagher. Go look up Gallagher and look up. He has this whole spiel he does on how to pronounce words, and it's hysterical. He's passed, but he is. I mean, I don't know how long ago he passed away, but he was hysterical. He was the one that would burst the watermelon on stage.
Okay.
But Gallagher, go look at his word play on comedy, and it is so funny. It is the best. But Vienna. There's all kinds of words. Yeah, that's funny. Now I want to poll my kids at school now.
Do it.
Kendall, totally do that.
It's a great.
I think we're gonna do we're gonna have to do a video on this now and find all these different words, and we're going around the school and we're gonna do it. It's gonna be fun.
Well, and
yay!
It ends up being such a cool icebreaker because then you get to ask, well, where are you from? Where were your parents from? So I have a friend that grew up in Nashville that says Vienna, but both of her parents were from California and Washington State. So in the home, she wasn't hearing that pronunciation. So even though she grew up here, and she honestly, she said, I've never heard that before. And she's lived here her whole life.
Isn't
So
that funny?
yeah, I mean, it's just, just different ways of doing things, but it's an interesting way to kind of get to know you and learn about people.
I had this guy I was dating back in college. I said, "You got any Worcester sauce?" He goes, "Do you mean Worcestershire, you hick?" So we called it Worcester sauce. He looked at me like, "You hick, Worcestershire."
You hick from Boaz or Bose.
That was one of the funniest ones. I'll never forget that. Oh my gosh.
Kendall Neal, our treatment court case manager, she's out this week on vacation, but she actually did a poll on her Facebook page last week, and it was so funny seeing people's responses.
That's hysterical. Yes. Oh, we're going to do that at school. That'll be a fun thing. But we're down to 5 minutes, y'all. We've had fun. But I tell you, we've got to recap everything and do the big invite. I've got to do something real serious, though, before we go. If you've seen on my Facebook page, there's a sweet girl named Janie Grace. She is a Good Pasture senior. She was running at Moss Wright Park over the weekend. She's collapsed, something with her heart. Big prayers for that young lady. Everybody's just devastated that this has happened. Of course, anytime you see athletes, it happens to athletes where they didn't know they had a heart problem. And little sweet Janie is fighting for her life right now. So please, please, please pray for Janie Grace. She is one of our seniors. My kids are Good Pasture alums. And I actually taught there for a couple of years. And so Janie Grace, man, we are praying for you. Everybody just be praying big for Miss Sweet Little Janie. And just let God just take hold of that and let her be okay. So with all of that said, again, the Recovery Court graduation, twice a year, fall and spring. This one's coming up next Thursday. Give us the details. Megan, you got the microphone in front of you?
Yeah, next Thursday, October the 24th, arrive at 11:30. We tell all of our folks to be done smoking by 11:20 and in the building. So, yeah, get your food, get a seat, and then just, get ready. We're actually doing a similar panel to the one we did a couple of years ago, except we're going to bring in people who represent different community organizations that are involved with people in recovery. And so we're going to have our board president is going to kind of be the host of that and just find out. We've got a representative from CASA. We've got a representative from the jail, just different people who see folks in addiction and then work with them throughout, kind of the continuation and just kind of seeing what their involvement is, what their stories look like, how they help people, just kind of seeing that it's a great big old huge collaboration that we have going on, that we work with folks. So that's the speaker panel. And then we'll graduate our folks and just celebrate. And of course the remembrance ceremony is a big part of it. So it's a really powerful event that you get 2 times a year to be involved in. And if you're on the fence and you're like, I don't know, come be part of it and just see, just experience it.
About.
Yep, absolutely.
I love it. Absolutely. And it's just a powerful, it will change you forever and you're not going to miss one. Yeah. And the remembrance ceremony, if you have somebody that has lost their life because of addiction of some kind, whether it be, they were hurt in an accident, they were killed in an accident, be a suicide, be anything, like you said, liver failure, because all these things. And be sure and send those images immediately to Althea. Give them your email address again, so if they want to include something in that.
Yes, ma'am. It is asickle@rccourts.com. That's ASICKEL@rccourts.com.
Very good. And Nova Lee. That Nova hint helped me. That is like Nova Lee.
Supernova.
There you go, Supernova. Anything you want to say on the way out here?
Thank you for letting us be here today.
Of
It's always awesome. To kind of keep everything recovery in the forefront.
And we just have to. We have to shine light on this, guys. It is an everybody problem. It is an everybody problem. And if you will come to Recovery Court graduation, you will see, as we sat down and started, you will see people just like you. You may see somebody that you are just absolutely blown away. Oh my gosh, I didn't know this is a problem for grandmothers and little kids. I mean, just everybody. It can happen anywhere at any time. And there, for the grace of God, so every single one of us. So. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us always. And thank you guys for joining us here for 1100 WSGI. This is One Street Over. We appreciate you joining us. We'll be here tomorrow with our Dr. Danny Weeks. We'll be here. Oh, yeah. Jesus is.
This is John.
After all this life is over and our